that show that there is no safe level of fluoride in water supply and that it can lower IQ in children and harm pregnant women. The only reason we know about this is thanks to a lawsuit that forced the Biden administration to turn over the documents. But first, just look at the places that do have fluoride in the water. This map is courtesy of the British Fluoridation Society. Fluoride in the water is a funny thing, right? The government says we need it to protect our teeth, and our teeth need protection because the modern diet is so degrading on teeth enamel and full of sugar and processed foods that grind down our teeth. It's a vicious cycle, right? So the government, in response to this, has decided to fix our food chain. Just kidding. They're not. Right, they're not going to do anything of the sort.
Instead of all the processed food, we'll get rid of that. No, instead, we're going to mask it with chemicals in the water.
Yes, that's exactly right.
That's how we roll.
And you know, there was never any real research on the effects of this. And now that there is some, the government is trying to hide that research about the possible negative effect of fluoride. A group called the Fluoride Action Network has sued the Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA. The EPA is being defended by the Justice Department. So you and your tax dollars are defending this. You're defending their right to maybe hurt you and your kids. That's how it works.
By putting fluoride in the water.
Because we pay our taxes and the Justice Department is taxpayer funded. So we are then all in on protecting the EPA. We have to be. But in this suit, they sought for the release of a report called the National Toxicology Program. And here is the report in question. Why do we have it? Because a judge ruled that we should. Here is the email in question where someone is asking, like, hey, we got a heads up from the NIH about this report coming out soon and fluoride and the, effects on IQ. Assume you're aware. Do we need to chat? That is, I think that's masking like, yikes, this is going to suck. We need to talk about it. To which this person responds, thanks so much. Assistant Health Secretary Levine has put it on hold until further notice. Like, we should be freaking out, but for now, it's been buried.
Kindergarten or first grade, they used to give us in the school, and if anyone remembers this, I was in New Jersey at the time, a little plastic cup every morning, and they'd put like one little pink fluoride tablet in the cup, and you had to like chew it, and you had to chew it. It was like chalky.
55 different studies, and they sort of did a compendium of them, and they found that here is the results. Let's just read it. In adults, only 2 high-quality cross-sectional studies examining cognitive effects were available. The literature in children was more extensive and was separated into 2 studies assessing IQ and studies assessing other cognitive or neurodevelopmental outcomes. 8 of 9 high-quality studies examining other cognitive or neurodevelopmental outcomes reported association with fluoride exposure. 72 studies assessed the association between fluoride exposure and IQ in children. 19 of those studies were considered to be high quality. Of these, 18 reported an association between higher fluoride exposure and lower IQ in children. The 18 studies, which include 3 prospective cohort studies and 15 cross-sectional studies, were conducted in 5 different countries. 46 of the 53 low-quality studies in children also found evidence of an association between higher fluoride exposure and lower IQ in children.
There's one thing that the government, United States government, is responsible for. That is the protection and security of its people, right? And how many times are we seeing evidence that they're doing the exact opposite? The Environmental Protection Agency is supposed to protect us from environmental toxins. They have studies, 46 out of 53 studies that they have now shown that it raises incredible problems for young children and adults.
Yeah.
The robots have arrived, at least in Pasadena, California. That's where the world's first ever fully autonomous AI-powered restaurant has opened, complete with burger flipping bots. We sent CBS's Joy Benedict on a taste test.
Flippy the chef makes Spud spectacular. This automated grill gives the meat its sizzle as this restaurant goes robotic.
For this burger, it would take about 120 seconds.
Cali Express by Flippy is the world's first AI-powered eatery. There's new technology outside the kitchen, too.
a cheeseburger.
Order kiosks use facial recognition to remember you, your favorite food, and how you like to pay. Then watch the robots work. No humans required.
We can't get enough people to come out to work on fryers and grills, and they're dangerous jobs. And this automation helps solve a lot of those issues.
Hello, may I have someone?
62% of restaurants report being understaffed. Industry experts say most of those unfilled jobs could be done by robots. And in California, where the minimum wage for most fast food workers will soon be $20 an hour, fewer workers equals cost savings. Dan Ives is with Wedbush Securities, a wealth management firm.
Once the minimum wage went to 20, that's the bell going off. More and more focus on spending on AI.
This agency is going to create the vast weapon systems of the future. That is what DARPA does. They are always 20 years ahead of anything that you or I know. So any technology that is like, what the hell was that I just saw and you're not supposed to have seen, that's DARPA.
They were doing Neuralink in the 90s, right?
They are always doing things 20 years before you know about them, because they do what is called blue sky technology.
Blue sky
right?
research and technology, yes.
But the point of this, when you say, is DARPA doing the most advanced technology? Maybe, but maybe there's another organization like NRO. I mean, people forget there are at least 17 intelligence agents.
Something extremely strange caught my eye when I was watching the Grammys last night. So Doja Cat pulled up and I noticed that she had a bunch of new tattoos. But one in particular caught my eye, and it was the one on her forehead. And it reads Delara Findikoglu. And when you look her up, she's a young fashion designer who puts spells and witchcraft into her clothing, and she even says it herself.
With my clothes, I kind of do witchcraft because I believe in reincarnation. Like, obviously, my spirit chose this body and knew it was going to be fashion designer.
And the deeper you look into her artwork or clothing or designs, whatever you call it, everything is just super dark. She also hosted this dark-themed Versailles party, and last year her runway was hosted in what looked like to be an abandoned church or warehouse. And I thought they played music during a runway show, but hers, she played the sound of water dropping. Listen to this.
...2024 just got so much crazier. What the hell is going on? I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. So I'm sure you all know what an eclipse is, A solar eclipse. It's quite a cool thing to see. Well, there was a large solar eclipse which is taking place on the 8th of April, which is going to be visible all across America, South America and Canada. There are now warnings coming out saying emergency officials warn people to stock up on food ahead of the eclipse. People preparing for, a state of emergency. What is going on? Now, hang on a minute, because the last time there was a solar eclipse here, I remember going out with the little glasses on and just chilling like it was a good thing. As far as I remember, people want to see this. It's not a scary thing, right? Yeah, for some reason in America they are saying that this is a warning, it's an emergency, and this is not going to be good. But why? Which of course is leading people to believe that this might not just be a solar eclipse. We've seen mobile providers and everything going down recently. We have Facebook at a huge outage on there a couple of weeks ago. People believing it's a solar storm or a cyber attack of some kind. To be honest, this is probably just America being extremely dramatic as always. I'm sorry guys. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this. I don't get it. And if you're in America, are you going to be going to watch it, or are you going to be stocking up on food, preparing for the end of the world?
Every time I go to America, I dread that experience. In 1 week, I put on a pound. If I spend 2 weeks in the United States, even if I'm eating the exact same foods I'm eating here in Europe, I put on a pound a week. When I come back to Europe, I immediately start shedding weight. Here in Europe, I drink very little. I eat a ton of bread. I love carbs. I love the pasta here. I do not put on weight. As soon as I set foot in any state in the United States, I start getting bloated.
Well, you are surrounded by pesticides and herbicides at much higher levels. The water quality in the US is lower. What's going on there is you're not actually putting on a pound of fat, you're putting on a pound of inflammation. It's hard to put a pound of fat on in 1 week. Your cells, instead of turning that air and food into electricity and heat, they were turning it into inflammation. And then as soon as you came back here and you cleared the toxins, then you felt better. One of the reasons that I can live in the US and I can be as lean and fit as I am is that I upregulated all of my detox pathways so that I can handle the toxic environment that the government in the US created.
To get a 15-piece nugget, and there's this on the front desk. FEMA has stopped by to give us a disaster assistance notice. with the deadline of April 8th. That's strange. That's the same day as the solar eclipse, and everyone's freaking out about it.
You have to sacrifice loved ones. You have to sacrifice loved ones for a long period of time if you want to be great. It is very unfortunate, and you feel it at times. You know the saying: if it's too hot, get the hell out of the kitchen. Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta get out of the kitchen because it gets hot. Sacrifice loved ones for a long period of time if you want to be great.
So we have LeBron openly admitting to sacrificing loved ones in order to be great. He is telling you the truth in plain sight because he is part of the club. When will people wake up and realize this? That all of these athletes, all of these celebrities, and the list goes on, they are all controlled puppets pushing the same stuff over and over again. So it's by no accident that LeBron mentioned sacrificing loved ones in order to be great. He's not lying, because this is what these people do in order to climb the ranks. Wake up.
Sacrifice loved ones for a long period of time if you want to be great.
That's one heck of a water tower, isn't it? Well, it's an old school water tower. Imagine you thought you knew something that was kept very secret for a very long time. Not just kept secret. It was turned upside down so it would be kept secret forever, because people who didn't keep it a secret, or people who questioned it, they were kooky quacks, or satanic, or witches, or demons, or wizards, or something like that. That's another water tower. It's pretty cool, ain't it? If your intuition or gut feeling or just knowing deep inside the difference between right and wrong wasn't real, then it would have faded and it would have passed away. But truth never fades. It's real. That's easy to see. It's right in front of our faces. Over the last 45 minutes, those are lines, see them 1, 2, 3. That makes a total of 7 that I've watched in the last 45 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And there's a total of 10 of them up there. Nobody questions this. Nobody cares. Nobody says why. Nobody says who said so and who gives them the authority to say so and why are they doing that and how did they come up with them conclusions for what's going on. That's really easy to see. And you can talk about it and research it and learn everything you want to know about condensation trails, cloud seeding. But what about your dreams? Our dreams are so much more than we think they are. And I'm talking like 99% of us. So this isn't no secret, but everybody's ignorant to what it's really all about. What about dreaming? Dreaming is a human condition. We all do it. Why are we all so ignorant to dreaming? Watching this happen in the sky is another example of how we just overlook things and we're too busy and distracted. Well, I can't worry about them stupid lines in the sky. The sun's still shining. My plants still seem to be blooming and growing. Well, when you're really tuned into nature, you can see changes happening. And you can't be a 15 to 25-year-old to be tuned into nature. It just doesn't happen that way. You need to be tuned into nature over a long period of time to be able to see a long period of change. And this contributes to change. Everything is about cause and effect. Everything. It's a law. It's a law that it can't be broken. It can't be manipulated. It can't be argued. If something happens, it has an effect. Well, your dreams are the same way. You dream, and it has an effect. And it's right in front of your eyes, just like this. Only it happens when your eyes are closed. And it's dark, and green, and creepy looking. No wonder we all ignore it.
Unfortunately, we are at a point in time where if you use a public restroom, you need to check for hidden cameras. These cameras are getting smaller, cheaper, and more undetectable by the average person. There was a recent incident of this at a San Jose Starbucks. On January 31st, a plumber was working on the sink of that bathroom when he noticed something odd. It turned out to be a tiny hidden camera pointed directly at the toilet. Authorities said the videos are extremely graphic and they've counted 91 victims. Their ages range from 4 to 85 years old. And all of this was recorded on one day. Fortunately, they tracked down the man behind it a couple weeks later. 35-year-old Luis Juarez Jr., who has children, by the way. When they searched his home, they also found 20 firearms, high-capacity magazines, and more tiny cameras. This guy wasn't a Starbucks worker. He just walked in and easily placed a hidden camera in the bathroom. And with most hidden cameras nowadays, all you need is a Wi-Fi connection to access and download these videos, like the free Starbucks Wi-Fi. If a plumber didn't catch this the very next day after he placed it, this guy could have been recording hundreds of people every day for who knows how long.
File, which gets recorded by the two eyes and stored within the mind. You do not encounter the external world. You experience electrical impulses on your nervous system. You do not see into reality. The eyes are black holes, they suck in the light and the image is produced in the visual cortex. There is no past and future, there's only an infinite and indefinite now, which is infinitely running. You're in a folded time and space simulation. Earth rearranged as heart, because your body is simulating Earth to your consciousness. When the heart stops, you leave Earth, which is the body. You are eternal, you never die. Death is a transition.
In the last 24 hours of attacks on U.S. water systems. That includes drinking water and wastewater systems. This out from the White House and the EPA. Take a look at the latest headlines coming out. Cyber attacks are targeting U.S. water systems, warns the EPA and the White House. Cyber attacks are hitting water systems throughout the U.S. Biden officials warn governors there's going to be a special meeting tomorrow with governors regarding protecting the water systems of the United States. White House, EPA warn water sector of cybersecurity threats. Iran may attack U.S. water supplies, warns the Biden administration. This coming out in the last 24 hours. Lifeline critical infrastructure systems face cybersecurity threat. And here is the official release from the EPA. Biden-Harris administration engages states on safeguarding water sector infrastructure against cyber threats. This coming out just yesterday in an official statement. And this comes as, take a look at this. We know they're in our networks. The CISA, who protects the United States against cyber attacks, officials say of a nation-state actor that's infiltrating U.S. critical infrastructure systems. However, I shared with you just recently, the CISA itself was hit by hackers, had to take key systems offline. The group responsible for protecting our infrastructure systems actually being hacked themselves. And this comes as the FBI director has been warning that Chinese hackers, they're preparing to wreak havoc on the U.S.'s critical infrastructure systems. And also we're hearing, as I mentioned, Iran, and they're saying a major attack is on the way. And we're already seeing that, as I've shared with you, cyber attacks on hospitals are likely to increase, putting lives at risk, experts warn, and we've already seen pharmacies going down. So I've also shared with you that if you're somebody that wants some backup meds, I've got a link in the description below to lifesavervault.com and other resources as well, just in case we see these come to fruition. Now, I'm going to get you caught up on the latest so that way you can see it for yourself, what is actually unfolding in the last 24 hours, and please share this out because for some reason I am not seeing this on the mainstream news media. They're not sharing about the attacks on water systems that are coming out right now. So I'm going to get you caught up on the latest. Now, before we dive in, do me a quick favor. Hit the like button if you appreciate the updates. Don't forget, hit subscribe.
heard that? So apparently Buzz Aldrin saw the devil himself in Antarctica.
What?
So this is the theory. In 2016, a satellite captured an image of what scientists believe to be a massive pyramid in Antarctica. This would be the largest pyramid ever found on Earth. Bigger than the Great Pyramid of Giza, which is about 230 meters wide. And this pyramid in Antarctica would be 2,000 meters wide. So in 2016, Buzz Aldrin, alongside his team, embarked on an expedition to Antarctica with the aim of exploring and confirming the existence of this immense pyramid. So this is where it gets wild. During the expedition, Buzz Aldrin had a heart attack. He was hospitalized for days, but when he fully recovered and left the hospital, he tweeted something strange but quickly deleted it. It said, "We are all in danger. It is evil itself."
What?
And someone close to Buzz said they spoke with him, and he said one thing: "We thought out things we shouldn't implement." Aldrin also shared several chilling photos. To see them, follow us, click on share, then...
You hear on back-to-back days, General Flynn and Ron Paul on Tucker Carlson's show are talking about a black swan event.
Reaching this point where some sudden thing is going to happen.
Now, for those that don't know, a black swan event is an unpredictable event that is beyond what is normally expected from a situation and that has potentially severe consequences. So you're just going about your day and like 9/11 happens, stock market crashes, something crazy like that. Now, I have been talking a lot over the last 4 years about an old guard falling and a new guard rising. And history proves that when there is any type of like changing of the guard where new people are coming into places of authority, it gets very chaotic because the ones that are in the position of power don't want to lose their power. All right, I'm going to play these videos back to back, but then I'm going to add some notes on the end.
Reaching this point where some sudden thing is going to happen. I believe in that theory of the black swan.
Yes.
It's going to pop up and it's not going to be controllable. But people, you ask, what can they do? I think the most important thing is understand what's going on.
Things, we call them black swan events, right? Black swan events are things that nobody imagined could occur, and yet they did, right? And then they have these incredibly, mostly devastating effects.
So things get very chaotic, they get very stormy because there's a guard transfer that is occurring, and when those kind of things happen, black swan events become predictable. Which is interesting because they're supposed to be unpredictable, but people that could see in the spirit and people that can read history and know how it constantly repeats itself knows that when there's a change of guard that's happening, when people that are losing their place of power, things get very chaotic and they try to do whatever they can to stay in power, and that could just create those kind of events like a black swan event. We can talk about other things like a wealth transfer, like what happened when the Israelites left Egypt, or the fall of Saul, rise of David, where Saul was taken down as the first king and David was put in as the second king. We could talk about Daniel in the lion's den, or Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego going into the fire. All of these kind of things surround black swan event territory.
Breaking news, as you can say goodbye to Apple. This is absolutely insane. Like, you seriously will not believe what is going on. So, as I'm sure you know, Apple have recently been coming out with some announcements and warnings for us, which is great, but this hasn't actually got anything to do with that. And if you have an Android or Samsung for once, you're probably the lucky ones, and these guys are definitely the winners. Now, because of what's happened, Apple's market value has decreased by around 113 billion. So, what the hell's going on? Honestly, it's nuts. Basically, they're being tried and sued by the US government for being market leaders for too long. Yep, apparently Apple has been in control of the phone and tech market for so long now because they're the best at it that the government have said it's not fair on anyone else, so we're basically just going to sue you. Like, honestly, so you make something good and you stay at the top and then it's like, no, that's not good enough, sorry, you need to give it to some other people. Like, it's absolutely nuts. So yeah, I'm really not sure what to make of this, but please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.
Canola oil, awful. Why is that awful? Because those are seed oils, and the way that they're processed is they take that oil from the seed, they heat it over 450 degrees, which makes it rancid, And then they actually have to bleach it to make it clear. And then they have to put a deodorizer in it to kill the smell because it's a rancid oil.
I'm eating the deodorizer.
You're putting basically toxic rancid oil into your body when you eat those. Seed oil is one of the worst things for you.
Why seed oil is one of the worst things for you.
It is.
That's the title of that.
Vegetable, safflower, canola.
Worse than the enriched?
Just as bad.
Yeah.
It's an oxidant. Like it's a free radical.
How do you know all this stuff, Gary?
I'm a human biologist. So
what does it mean that you're a human biologist?
So my undergraduate degree was in biology. My postgraduate degrees are in human biology, meaning I studied just the biology of human beings, human physiology, human anatomy, human neurochemistry. And then for 20 years, I was a mortality expert for the insurance industry. And during that time, I read voluminous amounts of medical records. And we would take these medical records and we would determine how long people had to live to the month. And when I say that, people are like, there's no way that you can predict death to the month. If you don't think that predicting death to the month is an industry, then you don't believe in annuities, life insurance, reverse mortgages.
To sneak in.
I basically came to the main gate and crawled down through the swamp and then went up and got into the main parking area where they have these big open backed trucks that come in and take the members in. And I basically just climbed on to the truck with some other members, had a conversation with them, and then they stopped us at an internal checkpoint, and some security people climbed on asking us what group we were with, and I knew enough about some of the club's names inside to tell them I was part of the Hillbillies, which is the Texas delegation, the Bushes and their friends. And your accent worked.
And I gotta say, you kind of looked the part.
Did you ever think you were going to get found out, Alex, while you were in there?
Oh, the whole time. And I basically just sat behind a building on the grass for the next 2.5 hours or so, and then as it got dark, I then went out to witness the cremation and care ritual.
I'm wondering why you wanted to get in there in the first place.
Well, I had begun to research Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones at Yale. Bohemian Grove is where they all get to.
People, if somebody does something once to you, they do something that's bad or they're mean or they yell at you, and they go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that isn't me. You know, something came over me. I want you to realize that is never the case. It's always part of a pattern. People never, ever do something just once. They will do it again and again and again. It reveals something about them.
If you tell somebody suddenly, you suspect that they're in envy, and you tell them of some good news that's happened to you, for a split second, you will notice a slight frown on their face, slight sign of unpleasantness, like they swallowed a lemon. Then they'll disguise it with a smile. I swear if you're aware of it, you'll see it. On the other hand, if you tell them something bad happened, I didn't get that job, or I lost the mortgage in my house, for a moment you'll detect a slight smile, a slight look of pleasure. It only lasts for half a second. There's a guy named Paul Ekman who writes about emotions, and he's coined the expression microexpressions. And he literally can show you photographs of what they look like. They're very fast, because people can't help but feel a little bit of excitement when you tell them bad news, or feel a little bit of pain when you tell them something good about yourself.
Might be one of the crazier stories you'll hear today. This is a declassified document from the CIA, thanks to the Freedom of Information Act. It is titled Mars Exploration, and this was in 1984. At that time, the CIA was very into remote viewing. This is Joe McGonigal, and he's one of the most famous remote viewers. If you don't know what remote viewing is, think 11 from Stranger Things. The things this man has done by sitting in a room, meditating, and literally sending his mind, his consciousness to other areas in the world, it's wild. Oh, and if you don't think he's credible, he was given the Legion of Merit by the US government, so yeah. But back to the document. The CIA put him in a room and they gave him an envelope. The only details he was given for the test was the date and time and coordinates. So what did he see? By the way, again, all declassified, you can go read this document, but he saw pyramids. Again, over here, he saw massive pyramids. He saw a people that were large and they were thin, but he described them as only a shadow, as if they're there but not there. He basically describes the people talking that they're trying to find their way out. Essentially, you know, something was going on with Mars and the people were trying to escape. I'm trying to keep this as brief as possible, but again, it's fascinating because he was only given coordinates, and then the CIA afterwards was like, yeah, we sent you to Mars in the past. So is this factor cap? Now, it is important to note that what he saw was kind of like the popular idea for Mars in the 1980s, you know, science fiction realm of what Mars would have been like. But he claims, and the CIA claims, that he was given no information besides the coordinates, so it's interesting that it took him to Mars.
Looking at the aftermath of the Francis Scott Key Bridge after a ship ran into one of its support pillars, collapsing the entire thing. And it's 1.6 miles long, over 20 people are missing, and mass casualties have already been reported. But there's a more interesting video of the crash before it happened. So the ship is right here, and you're going to notice something interesting. The lights go out. The ship's still moving. Now the ship right now is on the other side of the bridge coming towards us. And you see the lights are off, but then they're going to come back on. But it's weird because if you watch the ship's movement, it's as if it's turning straight towards that pillar, as if it's aiming for it. The lights go off again, but it's still moving and steering. Doesn't really seem to make sense. Lights come back on right before it's about to make impact. So the question draws, why did the ship lose power? And despite losing power, why did the ship start steering directly towards that pillar? So the question then has to be asked, was this actually accidental? Tell me in the comments.
Blend fruits because you'll quadruple the glycemic profile. I mean, the difference between a banana that you eat and a banana you put in the blender is night and day.
What?
4 times the rate of blood sugar increase.
By putting a banana in a blender?
Putting any fruit in a blender.
Why?
Because first of all, you disperse the fiber that's in the fruit. So if you take a banana and you puree it, and then you mix it with milk or nut milk or something like that, you're basically quadrupling its impact on blood sugar. The glycemic index, which is the rate at which blood sugar rises. And the truth is, blood sugar is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
It really is. You know, we know Alzheimer's, for example. When I was in the insurance industry, and we would see early onset Alzheimer's patients. Not once in 22 years did I see an early onset Alzheimer's or demented patient for that matter that did not have 10 years of elevated blood sugar prior to. And now there's a lot of clinical studies. You know, you can get them at the National Library of Medicine, National Institute of Health, and PubMed. You know, we're calling Alzheimer's type 3 diabetes, insulin resistance.
Has the Great Wall of China always been downplayed to me? You know what I found out today? It's 13,000 miles long. Do you understand how long that is, bro? Like, I live in LA, I could drive to New York City right now, and that's 3,000 miles. You got times that by 4, add 1,000, and you still not there. And that's a wall. So I'm trying to understand, who was they defending against? And how do you make a wall 13,000 miles long? When I saw 13,000, I was like, oh, but then I'm like, wait a second, wait. 13,000, that's kind of far. And then once I did it like this, it blew my mind because I was like, oh, wait a second. I didn't even know China was that big to build a wall that big. Like, they finished building these in 220 BC. Jesus wasn't even roaming around yet. And they had a 13,000 mile wall built. My brain can't really comprehend that. Like, okay, all of a sudden the pyramids, they not even that cool to me. What the fuck, did they just start and they were like, man, we might as well just keep going? Or was there an enemy that was that great that they was that scared of that they was like, nah, son, keep it going. We need all 13,000 covered because if they come, it's fucking over. So 13,000 miles. China has just went up so far in just my random rankings of the world because